Well, I'm going to start us off on this one. Let's talk about politics now. ODM leader Raila Odinga has outlined a social welfare program that he says would bridge the poverty gap in the country. He says that 6,000 shillings will be given to every poor household. How practical is this?
I think that's a question that we asked, and that's why yesterday my party leader issued a comprehensive statement. When he made this statement a couple of days ago, people asked about the practicality of the 6,000 shillings. So yesterday, what Raila Odinga did was to come out and state exactly how he intends to raise this money. So he said, I'm going to be targeting 2 million households with cash transfer of 6,000 shillings monthly. This will lead to support for about 8 million of the poorest Kenyans. We're already having a cash transfer program in this country. I've been in the Labour Committee of Parliament for a while, so I know a bit of the details of our cash transfer program at the moment. We are dealing with about maybe 200,000 elderly persons, a total budget of about 37 billion shillings. So what my party leader is saying is we are moving it from 37 billion and moving from just targeting the elderly or the severely disabled, which is what is happening currently, to a situation where we are looking at the poor of the poorest, about 2 million households, and looking at about 137 billion Kenya shillings for this program. And this is not the only program. I think what he was also clear about is this will be reinforced by aggressive job creation, you know, so that you have people graduating and getting jobs and working. So nobody should think that we're going to be in a welfare state where you just sit at home and wait for welfare. But this is in recognition that there are families who are living in at most in dire poverty. But the other thing that he said is the fight against corruption. And the fact that we must really fight corruption to free up some money. He also said that ministries will initially take a 25% budget cut, so that we can find a way of supporting our the poor of the poorest. Then, as we grow our revenues and as we stimulate the economy, and you know, when Raila Odinga is speaking, he's not just speaking. This is somebody who, when nobody imagined, together with Kibaki, said there's going to be free primary education. Everyone thought, are you out of your mind? Is it really possible to provide Kenyans with free primary education? And it happened. Again, when nobody thought it was possible, he said, you know, we can have devolution, and it can work. And he championed it, and it finally did happen. And now devolution is our way of life, and we've seen what devolution has done within our counties. So when Raila Odinga speaks, he just doesn't speak. He speaks about things that have been well thought out. So if we free up money from what is going into corruption at the moment, and then we streamline our ministries and streamline wastage, and certain ministries take up to a 25% cut, we can raise the 137 billion that is required for this program, so that we move it forward. Dr.
Aluwale, how does this compare to the bottom-up economy, the social welfare program and the bottom-up?
In fact, I had hoped that the first person to be given an opportunity to speak would be our presidential aspirant here, so that he also speaks to what he thinks about our economy. I'm very excited and happy that former Prime Minister is now coming before Kenyans and telling them what he would like to do for them. I remember when I joined them 5 years ago, I discovered that they were just selling sloganeering and slogans. Tebem, Tialala, Ria, Ugwe, nothing. But now, it's good. He's come up with a semblance of a model. Let us give him an opportunity to explain himself out. Mutua will do the same, and others, as we are very clear about the bottom-up. Now, before I respond to what you're saying, let me plead with Gladys. Gladys, history cannot be changed by where you want it to suit you. History remains what is on record. Free primary education did not come through the Grand Coalition government. Grand Coalition government came after the post-election of violence of 2007, 2008. Gladys, probably those days you were at the university, you were not reading current affairs. Free primary education was a project of the Kibaki government of 2002. It was rolled out, and I was a member of parliament. We know exactly what took place. Raila had nothing to do with it. He was not the driver. So if he wants to sell his model, let him not justify using free primary education. Having said that, may I look at Raila's statements? You know, this is going to bring on board the debate of consuming and producing. What the economic theory of Raila Odinga seems to be saying is that there is so much around, all we have to do is to take it and dish out. We just consume. But the bottom line, I mean bottom-up model is saying we don't have enough. Let us bring more people into production so that they can produce. And how do you do it? We are very clear. We want to invest in small and medium-scale enterprises so that we create jobs and there can be more productivity. Secondly, we are saying we want to invest in agriculture so that productivity can be more. Again, we create more jobs. My able panelists, two very interesting experiences. Do you know the public prefers earning a living? They don't like being given free things. In Ghana, you must have seen the video clip that went viral around 1 month ago, where youth were taking rice that had been brought by the politicians and throwing it back to the pickup and saying, give us a job, we want to earn our own rice. Yeah. And even nearer home, in Kakamega, last weekend, a member of parliament who is in the habit of, when he's confronted by the public, he tells them, pick a line, then dishes out 100, 200 shillings, was actually chased away. And the video clip has been running around. Yeah. And this is why we, at the Hustle Nation, we are happy that we are defining that there is dignity in labor. Okay. And saying that it doesn't matter the labor in which you are engaged. Okay. Whatever labor it is that you are engaged in, ne kazi, kazi, ne kazi. I will appeal to the former Prime Minister to move from the old school, which was defined by the Auditor General of Ghana, that when Kwame Nkrumah became president, and the Auditor General then raised audit issues, Kwame told him, son, we have slaughtered an elephant. There's enough for all of us to eat. Yeah. And the Auditor General told him, no, that's not how government is run. Raila Odinga should know that the future of this country does not depend on consumption. Okay. The future depends on production. Okay. And when you have produced enough, you consume what you want, you sell what you can't consume, up to and exporting. Okay. Finally, why this point is very important is last week, we spent a lot of time talking about offshore accounts. This kind of mindset of consuming and consuming is why African leaders, when they are in office, they take and take and take, and because they cannot consume it, they then go and hide this money in offshore accounts. Let the former Prime Minister move from that old school and join the working nation of the world. Okay.
Governor Mutua, you're a presidential candidate. Do you see this as a practical approach?
You know, it's quite interesting that Dr. Alwale has brought up the issue of Ghana. And I want to say that if you've studied what we've gotten from Ghana, Ghana is very similar to Kenya.
Yes.
And actually, free primary education was an idea that we took from Ghana. Okay. CDF was also an idea that we also took from Ghana. CDF actually started in Ghana. We just adopted what they did in Ghana. And Ghana is very, very similar to us, you know. If you go there, you'll think you're in Kenya. the way they, the use of the language, their culture, and everything. Now, during the Renaissance period, and this is the turn when Europe moved in from what they call the old uncivilized agro industry to agro economy to industrialization. There was a move of a shift in economics where people were encouraged to get out, produce, and lift people. Others were left behind, etc., etc. And from that time, we've had different economic models throughout the world. Now, if you look at one of the richest countries in the world, and that is the United States, or even a lot of Western countries, they all have realized that in a society, there are those who are going to be left behind as a result of the imbalances that are there. And for you to be able to move properly, you need to have a social welfare program to lift the ones that are down to bring them to where you are. We've got affirmative actions and others. I lived in the US for a long time, lived in Australia for a long time, and they have social welfare programs that give food stamps to the poor and others. Yeah. In the US, they've actually improved it, and they have what they call unemployment benefit. So that now when you have been, you've lost your job, and you are indicating and you show that you're looking for work, you can actually get a benefit that ensures that you're able to eat and go out and look for employment, which is a good thing. Now, when you look at what Raila Odinga is presenting, it's not a new idea. It's an idea that has been there about giving money to people. It excites people. I don't think it's a problem. I agree with Grace Wanga that Raila Odinga doesn't just speak. It's things that his team has thought through and gone through it. My problem is how sustainable is it? When you give cash handouts, it is still a handout. And we don't want to get people into a culture of expecting something from government. The role of government is to enable growth. And this is where now we've had failings. Government should just do 20% and let the private industry and 190 do 80%. That's the role of government. I visited Rwanda the other day, and I was surprised at how clean Rwanda is. Some of us joke that wengine tunaoga Jumapili, some of us just shower on Sundays because of lack of, water and resources, all over the world. But you look at Rwanda, it looks like a country that showers every day. The streets are very clean, everything is organized, things are set, people come out together, they clean together, they move as a nation. They have been able to synchronize their mentality into we are in this together. We pull together. We don't have that naomba serikali inisaidie mentality. So I wonder whether this will bring back that thing of who gets the money. Corruption is a problem. Yeah. I remember, and let me reveal this, I won't reveal too much, but investigations will be done one day about what happened to the first tranche of CDF money that was given to constituencies. And I know, because I was in government, that there was a lot of swindling of that money that went offshore because, it looked like it was free money. Whenever people see there's free money, there's opportunities for corruption. So if this model by Raila Odinga has to work, we first have to tame corruption. Otherwise, watu watakuwa napata 500,500. Wanafurahi sana. Hiyo 500 inaenda mahali ingine, ukiongezwa it becomes billions of shillings transferred offshore or otherwise. So it's something that needs to be looked at. The concept, the whole thinking about it, about pulling people from the ground up is a good idea. It's a good concept. I have no problem with it. The 6,000, 10,000 is a good concept, but can it be sustainable? It works well when it's a one-off or 2 or 3 off, but can it really be sustainable? Can the economy really be able to sustain it in a way that it can be controllable? If they're able to show us that it can work, then well and good, but I have my reservations. All right, Ometangi?
Yes, Trevor. I think it's good to, let me start by making a few disclosures, of myself. First, by conceding that I think Raila is somebody who thinks, quite much before saying a few things, and I believe that this is something that he's thought about. I don't think he'd just be speaking out of just for the sake of it. And then let me also say that I had an opportunity one time to sit with Raila, and I just found myself in a seat in a plane with him, and we were both flying to the UK. And we sat next to each other, and we had a whole 14 hours of flight. together. So we engaged, and during that time I got to know quite a bit about the kind of guy he is. You know, he's quite knowledgeable. Let's give credit where it's due. He's pretty knowledgeable on matters governance, leadership, Pan-Africanism. He's well informed. And so I would give it to him that maybe he's thought about this. Again, listening to what Boni Halwale has said on the issue of the bottom-up, I'm also glad that I hear he has tweaked a little bit, because I was concerned with the first statements that were made by the bottom-up team, when they seemed to have more promoted the aspect that the bottom-up was about gifting people. And now I hear he has modulated that to now a better version of what would be a bottom-up approach, that indeed it's about first empowerment, if that is what it is. Now, having said that, Trevor, I have a lot of concerns now with the two models, and especially with the statements that Raila made yesterday. Because, once you make those kind of statements and give that kind of model with then all the knowledge that he has, you would need to give true comparative cases whereby you'd be saying that this works here or this works here. As it is, you don't need to reinvent the wheel as far as this is concerned. And the white people say, be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. So my concern is that if you look at the entire world, the entire globe, there is nowhere where you would say that this is a case study and a model where a welfare state model has worked. Indeed, where it was started, it has failed. It has failed. And as my running mate here was saying, and I would probably ask him to relook at that, at what has happened, indeed, even to those countries, even the US itself, as a case study, it has not worked. The reason why you find that people in the US have got to work 4-5 jobs is because, and that is, by the way, that is the main reason you find that there is a division between Democrats and Republicans. It's one of the most contentious issues. Should a certain section of society be working to maintain another section, part of society? Whereby, because once you introduce it, and the word my running mate here used is that sustainability. Yes, that's one part of it. But once you start it, then how and when do you withdraw it? And as I spoke about the case models, Trevor, look at, for example, why on earth did a country that had resources immense, like Greece, finally become a state that has totally failed, economically, not politically? It's because of that welfare aspect of society, whereby you start a model, and then as it rolls out, you find that it has expanded so much, such that you will have to go dig so deep into your coffers to maintain those people. And then we would practically be looking at our true case. Look at our budget. What comprises our budget? What feeds our budget? Where do we get the bulk of our money? Why were we having a conversation last week? And I believe that's why you'd want to be going, that Kenyans are up in arms because of fuel prices. It's because of taxation. If you look at the component of taxation within our budget, it forms probably almost 99% of our budget. So then how and where would you draw those funds from a taxation-based budget to give in welfare? And I think that's why I would be very reserved about that kind of model to be marketed, because then if the former Prime Minister found himself sitting at the helm of this country, people would be expecting that, as he has promised, and it is good, as I finalize, for us to be candid about this, even the welfare program that we have for taking care of our elderly, our seniors, has not fully worked out. Personally, I have a grandmother who is 110 years plus. She still doesn't receive that money. Not everybody does. A lot of people does, yes, here in Kibera, in other places, in wherever, in some places in the rural, but not everybody does. So if that which we have only given to a small part of society doesn't work, then how does the bigger one work? So I would be more for a model that would be advocated for, that would make us realize that it is okay to be our brother's keeper, but let us do so by ensuring that we are working and empowering each other,
the people,
to work.
All right, I'll take a quick break, but Honorable Wanga, you were mentioned adversely by your
so I want to come back and...
you can respond now before I take
I can respond, okay, thank you. First of all, I think the fact that Senator Halwale, joined UDA should not give him a right to trash the National Super Alliance, where we were together. I think what what maturity requires is, even when you move, you don't diss your ex by saying that all NASA was about was sloganeering. He was part of the heart of NASA, and he knows that NASA had a manifesto that we entitled A Strong Nation, a manifesto that outlined various plans. The fact that we have a stage, character did not mean that NASA did not have a... And for that, I really, I would have thought Boni would have done better in terms of dealing with how he spent his time as NASA, because he believed in what we were looking for, the strong nation. So to come here and say that it was about TB Memtialala is really to trivialize issues that were very, very serious that NASA stood for at the time when he was a member and trying to run for governor of Kakamega on a NASA platform. So you don't do that. I don't think that's a way to go. And then also to state that the social welfare plan that Raila Odinga outlined is not standing in isolation. Raila Odinga has in the last couple of weeks outlined a plan for rural transformation, a plan for universal healthcare, a plan for a strengthened youth, a plan. So this is a plan, apart from the other plans that he has, a state has to look at social security of its people. And this is the plan that he has outlined as far as social security is concerned. Just the same way that Boni is, and as Senator Wamatangi said, trying to clean up the bottom up. We were here, we were all here when we were told, we want to give handouts and so on and so forth as a bottom-up plan. So I just wanted to mention that and to say that the social welfare plan is not standing in isolation. There are segments of the economy. Social security is one of them. And Raila Odinga has outlined his plan for ensuring that the poor of the poorest are lifted so that we reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. And then as we move on to that, we transform our rural economies. We create a skilled youth, We deal with issues of universal health coverage. We deal with issues of, skills development and so on as a full package. So he will continue to roll out what his full plan is going to be. And social security must be part and parcel of that.
Okay. Because, Trevor, I would agree with Mheshimiwa Wanga to a larger degree. The only part that I would be hesitant to agree about, and that's what I started with myself, and I think this is an important discussion because it's about the future of our country, is, Trevor, there are facts you cannot run away from. You see, the reason why right now the so-called Asian tigers are taking over the power that was earlier held by the Western Bloc, the reason why China is a threat now to the dominance of the United States is because they have tweaked their model. And what they do in that part of the world, in the Asian economies right now, is that they have perfected the model of whereby it is through the sweat of your brow from wherever to add to that kitty. And together, the rest of the issues roll themselves up. And that's how you build a strong nation. And the reason why the others have declined is because it's not necessarily consumerism, but you have trained people who are useful to the economy to be laid back, to wait to be fed, and it doesn't work even in your own family. And I think that's what would be agreeing. If in your own family, Trevor, maybe you have a brother or two who just go to the village there to drink a little bit and wherever and then they go and hang around the shopping center, and you only is the star of that home because you come here at 4 a.m. to work, and then you do all those other things, and people expect that you feed them. Now, what I would be saying to this country, because this is for real, is that if we want to have a good country, then let's tell our people, get up, get to work, do things. And I would support that social welfare model where it is only based on either surpluses after first you have built the base. You know, I mean, it does not mean that countries like Japan, like China, like Korea and others, it doesn't mean that they don't have subsidies in their hospitals. They do. That's why it is cheaper to go to Turkey and get treated there than it is here in this country. That's why people stream to India. But you know, that is not built as the base that people get to start to learn to rely, that we are going to get handouts. You know that once you have built a strong economy, then you can empower and procure at lower cost. And then you find that it is self-evolving. It is not in the base planning. And Mheshimiwa Wanga, I have no problem. Like I said, you know, I spoke to this gentleman for a long time, Raila. We sat a few times, and I want to confess that I think that the gentleman is very brilliant. Very brilliant.
But
he's got good ideas. But on this one, I think the advisors would need to relook at that model.
I think where Senator Wamatangi is, I think we are on the same page. But where he's getting it wrong is this is the fundamental. This is the very area. And this is what I've said, that there is a whole plan. It's all part of a big puzzle that is Kenya and the plan to grow it. So you have your skills building, you're transforming our rural economies, you're looking at how our youth can be made useful, you're looking at how to create jobs, but you're also having a plan for social security. But it's not that everybody's going to wake up in the morning and say, I'm waiting for 6,000 shillings.
All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's see what you're saying really quick at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. Lomlen says Raila should think of empowering the poor homes and show them how to make that 6,000. They're just selling models that never really work, SM20 says the former Prime Minister's idea is brilliant, but it can't work in Kenya, Atwista Isaac says Kenya loses 2 billion each day by president-owned admission. In fact, unemployed Kenyans should be given a stipend of 20,000 per month. I mean, it works in other countries. Yes, Kenya is a capitalist state, but Raila brought devolution. Look at the fruits. Joel Bungoma says problem is we borrow everything from the USA, from Constitution, CBC, and now social welfare. Let us borrow security models and how they fight corruption too. Engineer Zaro says Raila has a good connection abroad. He is capable of persuading donor countries to write off some Kenyan debts. His welfare plan can be possible through support from rich nations and sealing loopholes for looting public coffers. Shiundu Boniface says, I'm a concerned Kenyan who does not support a welfare nation. I will support any model which goes for supporting hard work and aid an exporting nation, not sitting down and waiting for government money. Halwale, we still want to talk about this as well.
No, I just wanted to very quickly try and see whether there is merit in what ODM is saying through the leader. What I can see is an element of the principle of consumerism. And they are trying to tweak it so that it suits them politically. But they are missing it by a mile, because consumerism means you grow the economy by allowing more people to consume goods and services. And as they do so, then there are more players in the economy. That's the nearest we can go what they're saying. But what he is saying literally is that you just pick the money, give these people, without them earning it, and you hope that they'll grow the economy. The magic of the bottom line is that 6,000 shillings he's talking about is still the same 6,000 shillings that we would give. But we're not going to give it to individuals. We are going to invest it into the key players of the economy, small and medium scale enterprises, immediately create more jobs. And when there are more jobs, more people will start paying taxes, and as they pay taxes, the economy expands. Finally, in 2005, Dr. Alfred, you remember when you were with Kibaki, you sent members of parliament to Ghana. And I was in Accra, and we deliberately looked at the Ghana Youth Empowerment Program. typical bottom-up. Kibaki took it up, and he did not call it youth empowerment program. He called it Kazi kwa Vijana. Alfred, you were our spokesman that time, you remember. And Gladys, if you can go, and I know you members of parliament are very busy, and more so chair of finance, if you can go in the Hansard of parliament, I fought as chairman of PAC with Dr. Conness, member of parliament of Konoin then, who was my vice. We fought epic battles with the office of the prime minister. Why? Because of what that office of the prime minister then did to the funds for Kazi kwa Vijana. If Raila failed miserably to implement the Kazi kwa Vijana project that he was mandated to do by President Kibaki when Raila was prime minister, I don't think he can implement any economic program. Okay. It was a disaster. Yes.
Let me just jump into this. You know, I was listening, and I've been listening, keeping quiet to what my colleagues have been saying. I listened to what very good words spoken by Dr. Matangi here about how people need to get out and be given opportunities to work, and people need to know that you live by the sweat of your brow, even as the Holy Scriptures say, which is true. But the reality is that also we live in a country where opportunities are not really given properly to people who deserve them. So one of the first things that we need to do in this country is to cut down on the bureaucracy that is there, that favors a few people. There's so much bureaucracy in doing things. I was in Rwanda, I went to look at how to start a company. It takes only 6 hours. You online, and you get a certificate to start a company. And I'll just be showing those videos very soon, the next 1 week or so. 6 hours, you can actually start operating. In Kenya, and it is free of charge. Free of charge. Investors go there, within 2 to 3 weeks, you're opening a factory. You're breaking ground. In Kenya, it is 2 years. So it is also incumbent of us, even whoever is going to be advocating for all these things, a government has to provide an avenue for people to be able to enjoy and be able to seek wealth and get into the consumer-driven economy that Dr. Raila is talking about. We need a country that has proper security systems, a country that has proper services that are provided, roads are functioning, so that fairness, so that when a child applies for a job and they do not get that job, they know it's because of somebody who was better qualified, or they did not do well in the interview. It's not because of their tribe, who they know, or how much kickback was given by their parents or somebody else to the interviewing panel. Okay. We need that country. And the first role of a government is to ensure there's fairness and that people have a fair ability. Yeah. Why do they call the United States the land of dreams? It's because there's a fair environment, mostly. After they have sorted out their civil rights and everything, whereby if you work hard, chances of succeeding are there. But is that true in Kenya? Yes, it is true if you're lucky. Yeah. In Kenya, you find that things inakugonga kwa kichwa, unajaribu unashindwa. I saw the comment by Shundu Boniface talking about disagreeing with the social welfare state. And as I said, there's a place for social welfare. Yeah. And I want to agree here with Dr. Matangi. Raila Odinga is not, I shouldn't say this on TV, but he's not what you call an ordinary mortal. This man is a brilliant gentleman, a man who knows the history of Kenya. He means well, I believe. I've interacted with him many times. He's a very hardworking man. He talks about the things that are there. But I suspect that the 6,000 shilling welfare program was something that was put together by his team to counter the bottom-up approach, but was not well thought through. That's what I think. Okay. Because I know Raila is brilliant, he's a good man, he means well, and he really campaigns. Yeah. But I see some form of desperation here to try to balance what is there. Okay. Is it selling to the population? Time will see.
This all comes down to the cost.